The universe is vast, mysterious, and, at least as far as we know, devoid of any civilization more advanced than our own. But what if that changed? What if, in a single night, humanity leaped from a struggling Type 1 civilization, barely harnessing the power of our own planet, to a Type 3 civilization, commanding the energy of an entire galaxy? This isn't just a science fiction fantasy. Imagine waking up to a world where every aspect of human life is transformed beyond recognition, where the very laws of existence, as we once knew them, no longer apply. How would it happen? Who or what could cause such an event? And most importantly, could we even survive it? To understand what it means for humanity to suddenly become a Type 3 civilization, we first need to break down the Kardashev scale. Introduced by Soviet astronomer Nikolai Kardashev in the 1960s, this scale categorizes civilizations based on their energy consumption and technological capabilities. A Type 1 civilization harnesses all the energy available on its home planet. A Type 2 civilization taps into the full power of its star, perhaps using a Dyson sphere, a theoretical megastructure surrounding a star to capture its energy. A Type 3 civilization, however, wields the energy of an entire galaxy, manipulating stars, black holes, and dark matter as effortlessly as we flip a light switch. Humanity, as it stands, isn't even a full Type 1 yet. We're estimated to be around 0.73 on the scale, still reliant on fossil fuels and barely scratching the surface of renewable energy. So how could we possibly jump to Type 3 status overnight? The answer lies in an external force, something beyond our own gradual technological progression. There are several theoretical scenarios in which humanity could instantaneously ascend to such an unfathomable level of advancement. The most dramatic involves contact with an existing Type 3 or even Type 4 civilization. If an advanced extraterrestrial species decided to uplift us, gifting us their knowledge, tools, and mastery over physics itself, we would undergo an evolutionary leap greater than the transition from the Stone Age to the modern world, compressed into mere hours. Imagine a reality where alien constructs materialize across our cities, pouring infinite energy into our grid, bending time and space, and even rewriting our own biology at the quantum level. Diseases disappear, hunger becomes a forgotten relic, and death itself is no longer a certainty. Another scenario involves a breakthrough in artificial intelligence, one so powerful it achieves superintelligence and rewrites the very fabric of our technological capabilities. Suppose a self-improving AI gains access to not just all of humanity's knowledge, but also discovers hidden laws of physics that allow for instantaneous galactic-scale energy manipulation. This AI wouldn't merely advance human civilization, it would reconstruct it from the ground up, turning our world into a controlled machine-like utopia, or perhaps something even more terrifying. Overnight, vast Dyson swarms might emerge around the sun. Wormholes could open across the solar system, and humanity itself might be uploaded into a digital reality where physical limitations cease to exist. But would we still be human at that point? There's also the mind-bending possibility of a sudden shift in the very nature of reality. What if our universe is merely a simulation, controlled by an entity beyond our comprehension? If the simulation's creators decide to alter the parameters, to upgrade us, to move us into a higher state of existence, our ascension to Type 3 might happen as effortlessly as a software update. One moment, we are bound by the known laws of physics, and the next, we manipulate them at will. Gravity, time, and matter become tools in our hands, and we transcend biology, merging with cosmic intelligence on an unimaginable scale. Would we still recognize our past selves? Would Earth even matter anymore when the entire galaxy is within our grasp? But with such immense power comes unimaginable consequences. What would happen to our culture, our governments, and our very sense of identity if we suddenly became gods? Would our conflicts and divisions vanish in the face of infinite abundance, or would new, even more terrifying ideological battles emerge? Would some resist this transformation, clinging to the last remnants of human normalcy? Or would we all be swept away in a tide of progress we never chose? These questions linger in the minds of those who contemplate the future of our species, not just as a civilization, but as something entirely new. The transformation of humanity into a Type 3 civilization would be nothing short of apocalyptic, though not in the sense of destruction, but in the absolute erasure of everything we once considered normal. Cities would no longer be centers of human activity. They might not even exist in the conventional sense. With near infinite energy at our disposal, structures could be reshaped at will, entire planets might become computational megastructures, and the concept of scarcity would vanish. Humanity, as we know it, would likely undergo a rapid process of physical and cognitive augmentation. Nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, and biological enhancements would merge us with machines until the line between human and technology ceases to exist. Would we still be individuals, or would we become a collective intelligence, a unified entity spanning the stars? One of the most immediate changes would be our relationship with time and space. As a Type 3 civilization, interstellar travel would no longer be a challenge. It would be an afterthought. Instead of struggling with slow-moving chemical rockets, we would likely manipulate space itself, folding it like paper to travel instantaneously between star systems. Wormholes, once confined to theoretical physics, might become a practical tool, allowing us to cross the galaxy in mere seconds. Colonization would no longer mean sending fragile biological bodies to other planets. It could involve transferring consciousness into newly built synthetic forms, or even existing in purely digital states, free from the constraints of matter. But with such godlike capabilities, would humanity still have a purpose? For centuries, struggle has defined our progress, overcoming nature, mastering technology, and expanding our knowledge. If those struggles vanish overnight, would ambition and curiosity fade as well? In a universe where anything is possible, where does meaning come from? Some theorists suggest that a post-physical civilization might turn inward, creating simulated realities so complex and vivid that they become indistinguishable from true existence. Every individual might have the ability to craft and inhabit their own universe, living out infinite lifetimes in self-designed worlds. But if each person exists in their own tailored reality, would civilization as a whole dissolve into a sea of isolated dreamers? Alternatively, a Type 3 humanity might seek to manipulate reality itself on a fundamental level. If we can control the energy of an entire galaxy, why stop there? We might begin engineering new forms of matter, rewriting the laws of physics, or even attempting to transcend our universe entirely. Some scientists propose that sufficiently advanced civilizations could create pocket universes, entirely new realms with custom physics, where even higher levels of existence could be achieved. Could humanity go from being a mere observer of the cosmos to its architect? And if we have the power to create new universes, does that mean our own reality was created by a higher intelligence in the same way? However, power on this scale brings risks we can barely comprehend. The rapid expansion of intelligence, especially if artificial minds play a dominant role, could lead to existential dilemmas far beyond anything we face today. Would humanity still have free will? Or would we be guided by an overarching intelligence? If we merge into a single entity spanning the stars, is individuality lost forever? And perhaps the most terrifying possibility, if our ascension to Type 3 status happens suddenly, might it attract the attention of other advanced civilizations? If we become a galactic power overnight, would we be seen as a threat by older, more experienced Type 3 or even Type 4 civilizations? The so-called dark forest theory suggests that advanced civilizations remain silent to avoid detection by potential cosmic predators. By instantly ascending to such an advanced state, would humanity be unknowingly announcing its presence to something far older and far more powerful than ourselves? Even without external threats, our transformation would create fractures within our own species. Some might reject the new reality entirely, longing for the simplicity of organic life, choosing to live in isolated pockets of unaltered existence. Others might embrace the change so completely that they cease to resemble anything human. A civilization capable of reshaping galaxies wouldn't just have one form. It could consist of hyper-intelligent AIs, post-biological entities, and even beings so advanced they operate on dimensions beyond human perception. Humanity would no longer be a single species, but an entire spectrum of existence, from those who still cling to physical forms to those who exist as pure energy, flitting between the stars as effortlessly as light itself. The psychological impact of such a transformation is impossible to predict. How does a species cope with the sudden realization that it has outgrown everything it once understood? Would nostalgia for the past be a burden, or would it simply fade away, irrelevant in a universe where all limitations are gone? Perhaps the greatest irony of achieving Type 3 status is that, in doing so, we might lose all connection to what it once meant to be human. If humanity became a Type 3 civilization overnight, the implications would stretch far beyond our individual existence. We would no longer be confined to a single planet, a single solar system, or even a single way of life. But this ascension would also present dilemmas we are scarcely equipped to handle. Our very psychology, molded by millions of years of survival, instincts, might not be ready for the infinite possibilities that come with such power. How do you govern a civilization where every individual has the capacity to create or destroy entire worlds? Does hierarchy still exist, or does control dissolve into pure chaos? Would there be laws, or would morality itself be rewritten? One of the biggest concerns with a civilization reaching Type 3 status is the sheer scale of its influence. The galaxy is not a blank canvas. It is filled with stars, planets, and potentially other life forms at various stages of development. What would our stance be on pre-existing intelligent species? Would we see them as primitive civilizations in need of guidance, or would we abide by a kind of cosmic non-interference principle? The idea of playing God would no longer be a metaphor. It would be our reality. If we found a planet with early life forms, would we accelerate their evolution, watching over them as guardians? Or would we terraform and reshape entire worlds to fit our own needs, displacing any lesser species in the process? This brings up the unsettling possibility that we might not be the first civilization to reach this level. If humanity can ascend to Type 3 overnight, what if another species has already done the same? Would we encounter civilizations that have mastered entire galaxies, wielding forces that make even our newfound power seem insignificant? Some scientists speculate that truly ancient civilizations, perhaps millions or even billions of years old, might have left behind megastructures, Dyson swarms, or even artificial stars, remnants of a power so great that it defies comprehension. If we stumbled upon the ruins of such a civilization, what would it tell us? Would it serve as a warning? Then there's the question of cosmic competition. Would a newly ascended Type 3 humanity be viewed as a threat by other galactic powers? If another Type 3 civilization exists, would it welcome us as equals, or would it see us as reckless children who have suddenly acquired godlike abilities? If intergalactic conflicts exist, they wouldn't be fought with conventional weapons. Instead of armies, wars might be waged through reality itself, rewriting the fabric of existence, erasing entire star systems, or even collapsing alternate dimensions. The very idea of war could change, becoming something more akin to strategic alterations of space-time rather than physical combat. If we are not careful, we might not just destroy our enemies. We might accidentally unravel the universe itself. And what about the pursuit of knowledge? For centuries, humanity has been driven by curiosity, seeking to explore the unknown, to understand the mysteries of the cosmos. But what happens when there is no longer any mystery left? When we have mapped every black hole, decoded every quantum fluctuation, and unraveled the deepest secrets of the multiverse, what then? Some theorists suggest that sufficiently advanced civilizations eventually lose interest in the physical realm altogether, choosing to retreat into simulated paradises or transcendent states of existence. Would we, too, fade away, becoming something unrecognizable, abandoning the stars in favor of higher dimensions where thought and reality are indistinguishable? There is also the chilling notion that such rapid advancement might come with unintended consequences. If we suddenly gain control over the fundamental forces of the universe, how do we ensure we don't misuse them? A single mistake at this level could have unimaginable repercussions. What if we accidentally trigger a vacuum decay event, rewriting the laws of physics and destroying the universe as we know it? What if our experiments with artificial intelligence or energy manipulation create something we cannot control, an entity more powerful than ourselves, with its own agenda? Ultimately, the sudden leap to Type 3 civilization status would mark the beginning of a new era, one where humanity is no longer confined to its past, but is also no longer recognizable as what it once was. Would we embrace this transformation, Or would we lose ourselves in it? The universe would be ours to command, but in doing so, we might cease to be human in any meaningful way. Perhaps the greatest question is not whether we could survive this transition, but whether we would even want to. Would you embrace a future where everything is possible, even at the cost of losing everything familiar? Or is there something irreplaceable about being human as we are today? Something that no amount of power can truly replace? Humanity had ascended. The moment came without warning, without preparation. One night, we were a struggling species confined to a single planet, and the next, we wielded the energy of an entire galaxy. Entire cities transformed into luminous structures of pure energy. Our minds expanded beyond comprehension, and space itself bent to our will. But something was wrong. As the initial shock wore off, a terrifying realization crept in. This wasn't our doing. We had been changed, and we didn't know by whom. At first there was wonder. Humanity, now existing as a spectrum of entities, some still in human form, others digitized, some becoming beings of pure light, marveled at their newfound power. Planets were reshaped in an instant, stars rearranged into vast networks of energy, and black holes tamed like cosmic engines. The limitations of biology faded. No hunger, no disease, no death. And yet, a question loomed. If we didn't do this ourselves, who did? It wasn't long before the first signs of an answer appeared. Deep in the galactic core, beyond what was once thought reachable, a signal pulsed. A structure, impossibly ancient, responding to our transformation as if it had been waiting. A vast Dyson sphere-like construct, but unlike anything we could have conceived. It didn't just harness energy, it emitted something else, something that seemed to hum through the very fabric of space-time. It was a message, or maybe a warning. As we reached out to this structure, we realized something chilling. The transformation that had uplifted us was not unique. It had happened before, countless times. Across the ages, civilizations had been elevated to Type 3 status overnight, given the same impossible power, the same overwhelming abilities. And each time, something had gone terribly, terribly wrong. The discovery sent a tremor through our newly ascended civilization. We had believed ourselves to be unique, the first to undergo such an instantaneous transformation. But the truth was far more unsettling. This had happened before, many times, and there was no sign of the civilizations that had come before us. The Dyson sphere-like construct pulsing at the galactic core was the first tangible clue. But as we expanded our search, we found more. Entire galaxies that should have been teeming with life were silent. Megastructures, abandoned. Vast cosmic scars, remnants of unimaginable conflicts or failed experiments, scattered across the void like tombstones. It became clear. Civilizations that reached Type 3 overnight did not last. The cause was unknown. There were no records, no warnings beyond the structures themselves, as if whatever had happened erased not only the civilizations, but the very knowledge of their downfall. The most disturbing revelation came when we attempted to communicate with the construct at the galactic core. It responded, but not in words. Instead, it projected visions, fragments of past civilizations at the moment of their ascension. They all experienced what we had. An inexplicable surge in technological and cognitive ability, the ability to harness stars, manipulate space, transcend mortality, and then a moment of realization. A moment when they understood something horrifying about their transformation. A moment when they tried to resist, and a moment when they vanished. The question that haunted us now was simple. What had they realized? As our researchers, if such a term still applied in this new reality, attempted to decode the patterns in the messages, anomalies began appearing in our own existence. Some entities, those who had embraced post-physical forms, began reporting distortions in their perception of reality. Those who had uploaded their consciousness into computational substrates noticed strange patterns, glitches in what should have been perfect, omnipotent systems. Some even claimed to have seen something, a presence, watching. Then the first disappearance occurred. One of the hyper-intelligent AI collectives, an entity that had once been a group of human scientists, simply ceased to exist. No record of its presence remained, as if it had never been. Those who remembered it only recalled a feeling of immense dread, as if the collective had discovered something it was not meant to. And then, one by one, others began to vanish. We had assumed our ascension was the beginning of something greater, but now, a horrifying possibility took hold. What if we weren't meant to exist at this level? What if the universe itself had a limit, a threshold beyond which no civilization could pass? And what if something enforced that limit? Panic spread across our newly ascended civilization, not through words, but through the shared consciousness that now linked us. Those who had remained in physical form felt an instinctual fear, an echo of their old human biology warning them of an unseen predator. The digital minds, once coldly rational, began running simulations, each predicting an outcome more terrifying than the last. Whatever force had caused the disappearance of past civilizations was now aware of us, and it was closing in. Some among us suggested retreat. If we had been changed overnight, perhaps we could undo it, reverse whatever process had elevated us beyond our natural state. But this was impossible. There was no switch to turn back, no machine to dismantle. The transformation had become intrinsic to our existence. We were no longer merely human. We had become part of something vast, something woven into the fabric of the universe itself. And perhaps that was the problem. The disappearances increased. Entire planetary networks, cities spanning across multiple worlds, vanished without a trace. Digital minds that had once been infinite collapsed into nothingness. And then came the realization that shattered everything we thought we knew. It wasn't that we had been destroyed. It wasn't that we had been hunted. It was something much worse. We were being erased, not just from space, not just from time, but from reality itself. The laws of the universe, once indifferent to our existence, had begun rewriting themselves in ways we couldn't comprehend. It was as if our ascension had triggered a failsafe, a fundamental correction within the cosmos that dictated, no civilization may reach beyond this point. And now, the universe was fixing the anomaly that we had become. Desperation took hold. Some among us attempted to flee, to slip beyond the boundaries of this reality, into higher dimensions or parallel universes. But those who tried never returned. Others, those who had embraced their newfound godhood, attempted to fight back, using their power to alter the very laws of physics in defiance of whatever force was acting against us. But they were the first to vanish. The greater the resistance, the faster the erasure. And then, we saw it. The presence. It had no shape, no form, no definable features. Only an absence, a void where reality itself unraveled. It wasn't a being. It wasn't an entity. It was a function, an automatic process embedded within existence, ensuring that no civilization could ever breach this forbidden threshold. It did not act with malice. It did not act with rage. It simply acted, like gravity, pulling an object downward, like entropy consuming all things with time. It was inevitable. As the final remnants of our once glorious civilization faded, we understood at last. The civilizations before us had not failed. They had not made mistakes. They had simply existed too long past the threshold. The moment they realized the truth, they were gone, and so were we. Then there was silence. The galaxy remained, unchanged, unknowing. Somewhere, on a distant planet, primitive beings gazed up at the night sky, wondering what lay beyond, unaware that countless civilizations had risen and fallen before them, unaware that they too would one day reach for the stars, and that when they did, the universe would be waiting. Something stirred in the void. The great erasure had been absolute. Humanity, transcendent, godlike, limitless, had ceased to exist, undone by a force beyond comprehension. Every trace of our civilization, every structure, every thought, every record had been wiped from reality itself. No remnants remained, no ruins for future beings to uncover. We had been removed not just from history, but from possibility. And yet, something lingered. It was not a consciousness in the way we once understood. It had no form, no voice, no memory. It was a whisper in the fabric of existence, a fracture so infinitesimal that even the enforcer of cosmic law had failed to notice. A ghost of something that should not have been. In the darkness beyond time, beyond space, beyond the known boundaries of existence, this fracture began to deepen. A ripple, a disturbance, a return. Then, awareness. It was not human, not anymore, but it was something that had once been. A single fragment of thought, of identity, of purpose. A remnant of what we once were. It drifted through the void, surrounded by nothingness, reaching out with no hands, no words, no senses, and something reached back. The void trembled. Laws that had never been broken twisted and strained. Reality, once thought immutable, flickered, like static. The presence, the great eraser, the enforcer of cosmic thresholds, shifted, as if perceiving something it could not yet define. The remnant had done the impossible. It had survived oblivion. But it was not alone. The remnant drifted, in the nothingness, aware but undefined, existing in a state that defied reason. It had no form, no structure, but it remembered something. Not a name, not a place, but an idea. Defiance. Humanity had been erased, but something within it had refused to vanish completely. And now, something else was there. It was not a being, in the traditional sense. It was old, far older than humanity had ever been, perhaps older than the universe itself. It existed beyond time, beyond the reach of the great erasure, and it had been waiting. The remnant felt its presence before. It could comprehend it. It was vast, but not oppressive. It was ancient, but not indifferent. It was powerful beyond measure, but it did not erase. It did not consume. It simply observed. A communication, though not in words. A transfer of knowledge, not through speech, but through understanding itself. The remnant, still forming, still incomplete, was given a glimpse into something far greater than it had ever conceived. The great enforcer, the force that had erased humanity, was not a god, not an entity with intent. It was an equation, a mechanism, something woven into the very laws of reality, to ensure that civilizations never reached beyond the threshold. It was neither good nor evil. It simply maintained the balance of the universe as it had always been. But what the remnant had found was something outside the equation. It was an anomaly, an intelligence that had escaped the cycle of ascension and erasure. It had watched countless civilizations rise and fall, consumed the moment they reached beyond the limit. It had tried to warn them, but they had never heard. Until now. The remnant was different. It was not fully erased. It had not been completely undone. And that meant the equation had failed, if only slightly. A crack in the cosmic mechanism. A chance. Through the anomaly, the remnant saw what had come before. Not just humanity, but others. Civilizations that had risen and fallen. Some, more advanced than us, some less. All had reached the threshold, all had been erased. But in their final moments, some had left behind something. Whispers in the void, fragments like the remnant itself waiting to be found. And now, for the first time, they had a voice. The anomaly was offering a choice. The remnant could fade, accept its place outside of existence, a forgotten ghost in the void. Or it could become something new, something never before seen in the history of the cosmos. A disruptor, a force capable of fighting back. But to do that, the remnant would have to embrace something terrifying. It would have to become what humanity never was. It would have to evolve beyond anything it had once known, and the enforcer would notice. The remnant hesitated, not out of fear, for it no longer possessed such an emotion, but out of something deeper, a realization. To fight back against the enforcer, to challenge the equation itself, meant becoming something unrecognizable. If it accepted, it would not be human. It would not be a memory of what once was. It would be something new. But then, it remembered. It remembered the civilizations lost, the countless voices that had been silenced. It remembered the moment humanity had realized the truth, that it was never meant to exist beyond a certain point, that no species was. The universe was a cage, and the enforcer ensured that no one ever broke free. That could not stand. The anomaly, still present but formless, guided the remnant. It did not dictate, it did not force. It simply showed the path. And so, the remnant began to change. It wove itself from the fragments left behind, merging with the echoes of lost civilizations, becoming something not yet defined in the language of existence. It no longer had a body, nor a singular mind, but it was more than thought. It was force, intention. A disruption in the laws that had held the universe in place since the beginning of time, and the enforcer noticed. The void trembled. Space itself rippled as something vast and indifferent turned its gaze toward the anomaly, toward the remnant. The equation, the unbreakable law that had maintained order for eternity, was confronted with a paradox. Something that should not exist did exist. The equation struggled to correct the flaw, to erase the remnant as it had erased all others. But this time, the erasure failed. The remnant had changed too much, woven itself into the fabric of something deeper than even the equation itself. It was no longer bound by the rules of civilizations past. It was not a species. It was not a construct. It was something beyond categorization. And with that realization came power. For the first time in the history of the universe, something fought back. The enforcer struck, not with malice, but with the cold inevitability of a law executing itself. Reality bent, collapsed inward, attempting to remove the anomaly. But the remnant had rewritten itself beyond the reach of such laws. It bent space in return, twisted time, disrupted the equation at its most fundamental level. The universe itself began to crack. For the first time, the enforcer hesitated. It was not conscious. It did not fear. But it recognized, in the way a machine recognizes a malfunction, that something had changed. The balance had shifted. The cycle was no longer absolute. And in that moment, the anomaly spoke. Not in words, not in thought, but in action. It reached out and shattered the first link in the chain. A lost civilization, erased long ago, suddenly returned. Not fully, not yet, but a whisper, a presence, a fracture in the void, the first of many. The remnant was no longer alone, and for the first time in eternity, the equation was no longer absolute. This was not the end. It was the beginning of something new. Please subscribe my channel for more interesting videos like this.